Hi, Ashes to Ruby's family. Welcome back. This is John.
This is Joe.
And we're here to talk about 5 ways to not burn out. So we're not experts in this field. We have experience in this field. We were talking about this and kind of brainstorming. You have experience of burnout. I have experience of not burning out, and neither is right or wrong.
No.
But burnout is, really going past the human limitations. And if you suffer burnout, it takes about 9 months to a year to fully recover from that. So we're going to give you 5 tips on how to not burn out. But what are the signs of burnout, Joe?
Well, the signs of burnout are traditionally anxiety, overwhelm, the capacity not to say no, so no boundaries. You're always saying yes to everything. There's a sense of lack of sleep. So you're not sleeping well. You always wake up tired. I remember that. I was always tired.
Is that from like adrenaline, anxiety, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, because you're spiking your adrenal glands. I guess I don't know exactly the whole science about it. Talk to my wife about that. But constantly just pushing yourself beyond the limit, and so you're on the edge too. So and also anger. Just like lashing out on the kids. I remember I would lash out on the kid for no reason, just for little things. And so my capacity emotionally was really low. And also just every morning, I had zero lack of motivation. So a total loss of purpose.
No motivation. Were you on your phone a lot?
Doom scrolling. Going on YouTube.
I hear that word.
Oh, Lord help.
And it actually makes you more anxious.
More anxious.
So then somebody in burnout, it's like I've met people and worked with people like that. And it's like, I could give you a little bit of a recipe, but you're doing all the negative things to actually compound the problem. And it's something that is so hard to get out. And it's almost like there's no off switch, so to say, right? Like so is that the overwhelm part? Like, this is never going to end. The sky's falling in. You're full of like this tension on the inside. And it's like almost a hopeless situation.
Yeah. And you don't necessarily see an out because it's a weird trap that you're in because you need to do all these things to get better, but because you lack the energy, the motivation, or even the will, that you essentially just, and that's the paralyzing aspect of burnout. So most people will be like, hey, just get out, do this.
Yeah, and then people telling you what you should be doing that you can't even do. And then it heaps more guilt and more shame of like, yeah, if only I could. And now you got the shoulds and the if onlys, and it's just compound. So it's detrimental to your mental health. It's detrimental to the marriage. It's detrimental to the kids. Like, people lose their jobs because of this.
Oh, it's horrible.
And I think people can end in suicide. And so it's a real problem.
It's a massive problem. And I think in our culture, chronic stress is one of the biggest problems.
And maybe for men, we take on these burdens where we just suck it up. Like, I just have to man up, put on my big boy pants. We're going to get through this.
Yeah.
And once you get into burnout, there's no real out from under that. There's that 9 months to a year before you kind of recuperate and get back to, like if you look at a car, like getting out of the red and getting the engine running properly. So if you blow your motor, you're not taking care of the limitations of tires and tire rod ends and oil changes and all that stuff. And now we're getting into the solution. But your vehicle, the way you move, is going to be debilitated. So once you're in this burnout, now you got to go to the mechanic, and it's like a new motor. Yeah. You got tires, brakes, like it's a big overhaul. So coming out of burnout, you had that experience. What did it take you? How long?
I would say, this is honestly speaking, I never really came to the person I am today. It took me probably 6 years.
6 years.
Before I really felt like, oh, wow, I can actually, I feel that energy again. And I wake up in the morning, I have the same drive and But some say that you never fully come back 100%. They say often after a burnout, depending on the severity of it, but you come back to like 80, 90%.
Really? Okay.
Traditionally.
So the goal would be not to burn out. So then here's as we were brainstorming and just kind of like unpacking our own personal lives and looking at the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, where we go through this process of cultivating and really becoming a recovered temple of God, being spirit-led and spirit-guided instead of fear-driven. And so it talks about burning foolish energy. And so part of burnout comes from this burning foolish energy, fear, anger, excitement, resentment, foolish decision-making, all of those things. And we believe that the crux of it is lack of discipline. And so discipline, and I don't mean like getting into trouble or anything. It's like actual, like if a father disciplined his kids, how would I put discipline in my life? So we looked at 5 ways here, and I'll start off first. The first things first would be AM, the morning. Morning prayer meditation, morning time with God, asking for inspiration, asking for directions, asking for just like connection time of like, for me personally, I got a candle. Yeah. It's big. It smells beautiful. It's wood and sandal. I don't even know what sandal is, but like now that I think of it, like, is it my foot sandals? It doesn't smell like that, but it's like, I want to feel aroma. I have little roll-on peppermint, and I just like, I want to feel, I want to be centered, I want to be connected to the power, the source of God. And so that morning time for me is very important. I do a guided meditation. I do writings. I have writings every day. I have instructions every day. I have inspiration for others every day. I'm connected first thing in the morning. So I personally, I believe that the spiritual hours start at 5 a.m. I like to leave room for improvement. So I don't start at 5 a.m. I try to get up for 5:30, maybe 6 o'clock, and I get connected. All right, Joe, second one?
PM.
So we got AM, PM.
PM. Because how you end the day determines how you start the day.
So what are we talking about?
So first of all, going to bed early. I mean, that's such a huge, I know that's been a life changer for me.
But people say I'm a night owl. I like to watch the news. I listen to podcasts. I'm catching up on the day.
I'm telling you, there's a reason why the sun goes down at a certain time. And I think lots of the things in our culture, nothing good ever happens. I remember years ago when I went to school, the teacher said, nothing good ever happens after 12 o'clock.
Yeah, my mom said the same thing. Nothing good happens after 11 o'clock. That was my curfew.
So, yes, some people like to stay a little later, but I think having that time that because then you also have a routine. I know in my household, we have a routine. We can kind of, we're in bed by 8:30, 9 o'clock because we have young kids. But then there's some reading, reflection on the day, doing a little emotional check just to get the sense of like, okay, am I feeling anxiety? Was I overwhelmed? Whatever it might be.
So then you look at the news, you look at blue screens, you look at, podcasts. Those aren't winding you down. They're actually kind of winding you up. Like it blocks melatonin. It blocks a lot of stuff. So
doesn't help.
PM's super important. It's like bookends. So AM, PM, and number 3, we felt like purpose. And so you may go to 9 to 5, you might go to a specific employment, but if you had a greater purpose in that employment, or if you had a greater purpose outside of that, we do like Gerald runs our SOS Street Outreach Ministry, and they're down on the street. At least once a week, we do peer-to-peer support groups at some drop-ins where people are using, and it's making connection and contact with people. And so, the mundane of making a paycheck, outside of that, there's a greater purpose. So I'm not just caught up in this little bubble of like making 8-hour days and making a certain amount of money and just paying my bills. And so purpose. So we got AM, PM, and purpose. Number 4.
Activities.
Active.
You need to have an active life. Depending on your interest level. You may not be a marathon runner or any of that stuff. That's extreme. But you may like to go for a walk. You may have a hobby. But just to be active, I think that's really important. Just, again, for your mental sanity. I think we're created to move. And so just being able to just move instead of just staying home, because the nature of that is, especially in the world that we live in, most people live here. And so living outside of this place is, I think, is really important. So activities are important.
Yeah. So then you got active life. So even like food, I know that I cannot eat as I used to. I have to have a new way of eating. It's kind of horrible. But what are we talking about? Discipline. So even like changing how I eat and what I'm intaking for me at this age. I think every man, I can't speak for women. I think women are good at hobbies. For the most part, from what I've seen, I don't think men are great at it. No. It's like sit at home and watch TV, watch the hockey game. Yeah. I think sports and hanging out is good stuff. Yeah. But is there something that you can have as an active hobby, whatever that is? It could be wood burning or fishing or motorbiking. Number one, golfing, that kind of stuff, to get out with the boys, kind of deal. Yeah. And not getting hammered, but
don't drink
drinking kombucha.
Yeah, kombucha.
And then our last one was a personal growth and maintenance of my own spiritual, emotional condition on the inside. And so we look at this in addiction recovery, where we're watching for the outside that controls the inside, because I don't want to be part of burnout is actually having the outside control my inside. That's really I don't have boundaries. I don't know my limitations. I say yes to things that I shouldn't. So having the outside not control the inside is a part of really growing and maintaining, because we're in a race. We don't want to have this race where and it's not a sprint. It's a marathon. Yeah, exactly. So in this life, we want to make it to the end, and it's not that effective to have a 6-year pause. No, it's not effective. You're right. But it's like, I don't want to be interrupted like that. So these simple things, and it's a hard word to hear, discipline. So 5 disciplines, one more time: AM, PM, purpose, activity, and personal growth and maintenance. And with that, I think we can run the race well. We can help each other with our mistakes. And I really encourage you not to overwhelm people that are already overwhelmed, and just sit with them and be with them and ask them if they want to do activities or that kind of thing. Bring them into your life, but don't have expectations on people. It's hard when you're like, if you just did these things, your life would be so much better. Your life would be just like mine. All right. We'll see you again. Have a great 24.